I think another real point that, and I've seen you kind of mention it as well, that I really want to get into, and I really want to, I guess part of the goal of this podcast is instilling confidence. And that point about confidence, I think, is a massive, massive thing, especially for young Muslims. Like, I've done a lot of outreach and I've spoken to a lot of young Muslims. I've seen them, I've engaged them, and I've always felt there's just that confidence that's lacking. Is that question in themselves, that little doubt. I guess, how can they go about building confidence? Because I think it's just, when you have that belief, you can reach levels that you never ever have anticipated. Whereas if you don't have that belief, if you don't have that confidence, then you're stopping yourself before you even begin. So I think it's so important that we learn how to, or young people learn how to really build that confidence. What advice would you give to someone that's maybe not feeling confident and wants to start building it up?
Yeah. So I think confidence is a superpower. You know, one of my friends, he's 18 years old, or he was 18 years old at that time. I went to visit him. He lives in the tallest building in the world. And I met with his dad because I was like, I need to get the secrets out. How did he get this guy to be like this so I can use it on my children? And I sat with his dad, really wonderful guy, mashallah, like had a great chat with him and everything. And after we left, my friend, he said to me, he said, you know, like one of the things you were asking about, like one thing I think really helped me is like my dad really helped to instill confidence in me. And that really helped me. Like he would make me speak in front of people and do things and this, and that really gave me. So for me, like I realized at that moment it clicked, because the confidence has always been something I've been teaching people and stuff. But it clicked that it's not just for speaking, like for your overall achievement, confidence is a superpower, right? And confidence really, it kind of comes down to competence, right? Like how confident are you about something? Like if we take an example, right? How confident are you, bro, that you can get from where you're sitting now to your kitchen?
Very confident.
Very confident. If I ask most people in the world, how confident are you, you can go from your sitting room to your kitchen, they would say extremely confident, right? Why is that? Because they've done it a million times before and they are basically so used to it that they could probably do it with their eyes closed, right? And so a lot of confidence is based on competence, and a lot of competence is based on you actually doing it, right? And so naturally, the first time you do something, you're going to feel uncomfortable, okay? So what you need to realize, though, is that in your life, you have to be someone who cannot follow their feelings, okay? Now, this is quite deep because people are like, connect with your feelings, feel your emotions. I'm like, yeah, all that stuff, definitely, right? There's a time and place for that. But if your feelings or your emotions or your thinking is going to stop you from doing the right thing, you have to ignore it, right? And so when you get to this point where you are given a choice, okay, now let's do this, right? And you're like, I've never done that. I feel terrible about doing that. Okay, now we go back to decision making. Okay, even though you feel terrible, even though critical thinking, what should I do? What's the benefit of doing this? What if I forever don't do this? Right? And what's the right decision? The right decision is to do this, right? And so there's lots of fear and there's lots of stuff that paralyzes you. But the trick is to know that this is part of it, right? So it's like the first time, like, give an example, right? Think about walking. Like, as a human being, if you've never ever walked before and you're a child and you're laying down, like, you're trying to walk. Imagine, like, just the thought of walking, you thought, oh my God, I'm going to fall. I've never fallen in my life before. And then you stop. You're like, no, forget it. I'm just not going to walk in my life. Like, no one does that, right? No one does it at all. Why? Because they know every single person I see is walking. That means I'm competent for walking. I can walk if I really need to. So now I just need to get up and fall and get up and fall, get up and fall enough times to get to the point where I can walk. And so the first thing I would say is that realizing that you can do anything you put your mind to, inshallah. Like I always tell the kids, like I say, what do you say? We say, with hard work and Allah's help, you can do anything, right? So you have to have that mindset that I can do this. And this is why I'm giving you Islam as the tool, because if you have Allah with you, what is there that you can't do, right? And so for me, like the first thing is like really realizing that the emotions and everything you feel around it, they're very natural in these situations and you're going to feel those things. Yeah. And then the second thing is that realizing that you're going to take action no matter what. Like if it's the right thing to do based on what you want to do, then go and take action. The third thing I would say is that find a higher purpose to serve. Like a lot of the problem about public speaking is to do with you focusing on yourself, right? everyone's going to look at me. Everyone's going to look at my white hairs and my beard and my bald patch over here. And if I start thinking about those things, how am I ever going to come and add value to people that are listening to me? I can't, because I'm so engrossed with my own life that I can't. And this is part of the problem, right? That we're too focused on ourselves when what we should be focusing on is others, right? So one of the superpowers for me about confidence is if you can find a mission and latch onto a mission and actually go out there and fulfill that mission, and it becomes about other people, you start to forget about your white hairs and your bald patch. You forget about it because you're so busy helping someone else that you forget. And that's what I'm saying about volunteering. That's what I'm saying about this stuff, right? And I'll give you an example, right? Let's say that I'm not confident because I've got a speech impediment. And on top of the speech impediment, I've got a crooked nose and bent ears or whatever it is, right? Imagine that you're walking on the street and Allah protect us, there's a car accident. And from one of the cars, a guy goes flying across the street and he's on the floor and he's bleeding. You run up to that guy, right? And you're like, mate, are you okay? Do you want me to call an ambulance? You get your phone out to call an ambulance. And he goes, no, stop. I don't want you calling an ambulance because you got a crooked nose and your ear is bent and you got a bald patch, so I don't want you calling the ambulance. Like, do you think the guy's going to say that? Never, ever would a guy say that, right? Even if he's an EDL supporter, or he's someone who's like a white supremacist, and you were there as a bearded Muslim saying, let me call an ambulance for you, do you think he would say, no, I don't want you calling it, mate? He wouldn't, because he's desperate. He needs your help, right? And so what if I'm standing there and he's like lying there, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't call the ambulance because he might feel like, why did the guy with the crooked nose call the ambulance? Right? So it's like ridiculous stuff that goes on in our heads. And so what we need to do is we need to turn the volume down a little bit and we need to get focused on what we're doing. So we need to focus. There's people out there right now who need your help. Like you might be a young person who's gone through one thing in your life, which someone else is going through, finding extremely painful, and you could help them with that. Right? But you're too obsessed with what your hair looks like. You know? So what I'm saying is that it's about bringing perspective to what you're doing. And that's why I'm saying that for me, my confidence comes from Allah. It comes from Islam. It comes from like really trying to focus on helping the other person where I don't really have time to think about myself. And then the confidence issues that you have and the fears and the doubts and stuff, they kind of fall away. I still feel nervous when I'm doing certain things. Like I had this event where I tried to introduce my whole family to Islam. It was called Family of Jannah. There was like 150 of my cousins and everything. I felt so nervous before speaking, right? I don't feel nervous from big crowds, but just because it was them, I felt nervous. So it still happens, but I don't let any of it stop me. And I think that's the thing that, you know, if you speak to a lot of dying people, they'll tell you what they regret is the stuff that they didn't do, you know? And so you need to get into this kind of, you need to get out of your own way because a lot of what's stopping you is yourself. And so this is all about you stopping yourself from stopping yourself so that you can actually get on with things. And it doesn't matter if you fail. It doesn't matter if you make mistakes. This is part of being a human being. This is part of learning to walk, learning to ride a bike. You're going to fall. You're going to trip. You're going to do stupid things. You're going to look silly. You're going to look all that stuff. I do agree. I'm so glad, alhamdulillah, in my time, we didn't have YouTube, social media. No one can see what I was doing when I was 15 or 18, what I was doing. I believe you guys have different challenges. But you know, the great thing about that is even if it's on YouTube forever, what you did, Allah forgives all sins, you know? So the restart button is just literally like one word away, inshallah.
And yeah, and just to add that, you don't have to be perfect, you know, because I think people can really feel defined by the mistakes, but it's not the mistakes you make, it's how you react to it and build from it that kind of defines you. And everything you kind of said really hits it right around the head when like how we should be perceiving it, and definitely not thinking it's got to be perfect. Like it's not got to be perfect. You got to get out there basically and start it. And then as you practice, then it'll get better and better and better. But it's just taking that first step to go and do it. And you know, it's not gonna be perfect, but that's the process. That's the way we learn. You know, when babies, like you mentioned, when they start walking, they fall down a lot. It's not perfect, but they get back up, go on. And now once they grow a bit older, stronger, they walk perfectly. And then that's
and it's not even babies. It's like the guy, you who's watching right now, you did this already with walking. You probably did it already with your bike, right? Learning to ride. Like, this is what you've done in your life and you have experience. Yeah. So it's just about you getting out your way and going, I'm still going to do this.
100%.